see the Sheiden breakdown. I think he's a little more down on himself there, Jatt.
Word or phrase.
Yeah.
Afterwards, he was like, why did I put myself as horrible? Just second guessing. But I've been watching a little bit of his stream lately as well. He does seem, that's just his personality, but he is still actually playing at a pretty high level. So looking forward to see what he does today.
Yeah, and it's a big matchup, right? Because one of these teams does not get to go to playoffs. We did kind of joke about the man on our screen right there, Licorice, last week, joking about how he has to play a playoff to qualify for
into the playoffs.
But yeah, this is. I mean, I'm not sure if we can call it a play-in. That's what you would typically
That's a
call
fun
it.
nickname for it.
You did bring that up.
Working title for just this weekend. But as like you said, a reminder that whoever loses this series, we will be bidding them farewell for Split 2 for the remainder of the split. They're going to be coming back for Split 3, of course, but that's a long break, so obviously a lot on the line for both these teams.
It absolutely is, and I would say that LYON is the favorites coming into this matchup. The last time these teams did play was in the positioning phase when LYON had that very hot start to Split 2, where they dominated 3 teams in a row. One of those teams was Dignitas. Also, after pros last week, I do know Srtty and Sheiden did feel like the underdogs as well, even if they're going to try and have a better week of practice this week leading into this match.
And by contrast, you have LYON, who lost a lot of really, really close games against some opponents. They definitely want that C9 series back. And I think for them, what I'm looking at to see from this team is whether they can stop those moments where they go a little too far. As we're going through the draft, we'll get this up on our screens as soon as possible, but Varus is locked in for LYON as their first pick.
Yep, and just to go through some of the bans, since we seem to be having a few issues, we have LYON, who have banned Naafiri, Azir, and Rumble, and then we have Dig, who banned Pantheon, Vi, and Yone, and have just locked in the Ezreal to match up against LYON, who first picked Varus.
Still the Ezreal v Varus. Every game one, nothing's changed.
But now we're getting it out.
Still.
We're getting it out of the way.
True. And this is a fearless at best of 3, so we will not get them for game 2. We will still have El Clasico for right now. Still with that Zhao as well, even with the minor changes on the last patch. See what the rebuttal is next up here for LYON.
Yeah, with Vi being down and Naafiri being down, a lot of the cookie-cutter AD junglers are out of the picture. But with Varus first pick, you really have so many options, since you can build Varus with the attack speed or the poke variant, so you can really go in any direction you want.
Yeah, he fits into so many team compositions. We see the Gwen coming through, and Sejuani. So again, like something playmaking. I do think Audie is a jungler who does know really well how to play around his lanes, just incredibly experienced with a lot of these looks. So nice start here for LYON in terms of what they like to do, which is get involved early.
I'm not going to take an effort at reading that one, but I appreciate you for drawing it.
If it was French, I'd be able to read it. My Spanish is terrible.
And it's going to be Jack's answer here for Dignitas. Srtty into, presumably, Licorice piloting that Gwen. With the AP itemization changes, expect this Gwen to be very good if you're able to get to that 2-3 items there.
I mean, I'm just a little bit surprised to even see the Jax locked in. It had really fallen out of the meta. We only have one Jax game currently this entire split before they lock that in, but it looks like Srtty wants this matchup into what he is presuming to be Gwen top lane.
Yep, and as we see, Jace?
It's a great bard right there.
Oh no, okay, so it was a hover. Karma ban coming through for LYON. A few Karma bans popping up here and there in terms of looking at kind of pushing bot lanes, pairs really well with the Ezreal, and is something that we have seen Tomo and Isles pilot previously. So, and then we have the Jace ban coming out.
Yeah, Isles pulling out the Karma 2 different times. He usually goes for more of those engaged champions, but might still have to lock it in this time as they don't have exactly hard engage. But Jatt, to the point about seeing the Jax into the Gwen, I want to highlight Srtty as a player and what this kind of tells us about him and his confidence right now, because he's a player we had a lot of hype for coming into the year, kind of the solo queue savant. you know, topping LP records, you know, smashing the Tier 2 scene, and then he really has not flourished so far in Tier 1, but it's because of counterpicks like this that he was able to gain all that LP and really make a name for himself in Tier 2. So it's setting him up to have that type of performance here, but can he deliver now is the question.
It's definitely the performance that he wants to have. I like that they've picked the Taliyah with it as well. I feel like whenever you're trying to do a carry versus carry top lane matchup, oftentimes it's decided by whichever mid laner can move better. Taliyah is definitely there. Great to see young children at the LTA as well move that next generation. But for Srtty, he has had a issue with lane swaps and early game map movement. I'd say he hasn't necessarily actually been like outplayed in the traditional laning sense. He just is getting a different game is getting played against him. So
this
he
ain't
just
solo
hasn't been able to follow the map movements, and he'll either dive or have bad teleports. Like those are the big decisions that I feel like have been costing him games.
But it's also how other teams have really dismantled Dignitas. It's either taken out Srtty or Keine, one of these solo laners, so the Jax and the Taliyah, but now it's answered by Neeko and Ahri on the side of LYON.
And we're just off of Saint having an insane Ahri performance. In his previous game, we all remember that teleport in, go back out, go back in, and then Alistar locked in.
That was great. I need a signed copy of that later. I'm going to find you after the game.
That is great.
All right, so the Alistar engage for Isles here. Understandable based on the draft that they had, but I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing online. It feels like a lot of the strengths of the team, Oddielan on an engaged jungler, something to set up plays, Saint on, like you were just highlighting that Ahri, that he had such a breakout performance on last weekend. So I'm liking what LYON has picked up here. And again, this is only game 1, but loser will go home for the rest of the split. So these players should be playing their hearts out today.
Yeah, and then by contrast, Dignitas, I am, to Jatt's point, really looking to see what they can do with the Taliyah, maybe try to make some lopsided matchups. They're coming off of a pretty crushing defeat at the hands of FlyQuest, and we do know that LYON can get out to some of these early leads. It's about overextension from then, but Dig have actually been able to fight back in a lot of their series, kind of save the FlyQuest one. So I'm really, really curious to see if they can kind of create those mismatches using globals.
Non-subscribers, we'll see you in 30 seconds. But for everybody else sticking around, get ready, because our first elimination match of the split is about to kick off. One best of 3 ahead of us, one team continuing into the lower bracket of playoffs. The play-ins, if you'll have it, start now.
And I want to watch Srtty early on in this game, because when you look at everything that Dig drafted here, all signs point top. Everything is moving top lane. Even the Alistar Ezreal is a bot lane that the Alistar can leave and roam to try and make something happen in the top lane. So whether or not they can generate pressure through the Jax's lane is going to dictate so much about what Dignitas can do in terms of winning the actual match.
And I don't think that's a bad call from Dig either, right? Like Sheiden and Srtty, we've talked so much about their pre-existing synergy together. And then also Licorice has been having a bit of a rough split, I'd say. So trying to target that early potentially could also be very good for them.
And we also talked about Saint and how dominant he was last week. These are just some of the highlights. The Yone, which was banned, by the way, to make sure he couldn't have that again. That insane solo kill he had against the Rumble. And then this Ahri fight where he just teleported in. Could have been a total disaster, but then it ended up being a game-winning play were some of the standout points.
Incredible performance, and you can see it's reflected in the stats as well. Very rare that you see over 1,000 damage per minute, but when that happens, you know that was a pop-off performance. Saint absolutely capable of delivering those. But like you had highlighted, this game, we expect more action to be happening on the top half of the map. So I'm happy that the observers are already showing us that, because Srtty versus Licorice here, Licorice, his consistency in making playoffs to begin with, very, very high. Incredibly rare when he misses those playoff opportunities. And this would be a huge win for Srtty if he can stop that from Licorice.
For sure. Such a veteran. Taking the Ignite on the Gwen. Fairly common to be flashless on Gwen because you have the extra mobility from your dashes, and you also have the ability to move your W shield around once you have a few levels. But that does mean that you can be a little bit more vulnerable early on in the game. Looking at the jungle path, so both junglers are pathing top to bot. I don't think they had good vision on each other's starts, so it's going to be a little bit of a guessing game. So maybe we won't see super aggressive trades up top.
We'll see what Srtty and Licorice end up doing. In the meantime, LYON have taken control of that bot side wave as well, pushing in on Ezreal and Alistar.
Usually you do see this with the range matchup versus the Alistar, so no surprise there. It's going to be, more about that mid game or getting out of lane where we really see Isles start to come up.
Yeah, Srtty, to me, is playing fairly aggressive. I don't think they saw Audie on any of the camps, so now he's moving into River just in case a full clear would be nearing completion and he'd be getting ganked. So no one's around there, but he just doesn't know that for sure, and Isles goes in. Yeah,
slight little trade there into Hena. Not going to amount to much. Tomo can't get in range. This is the thing about the Neeko, is that you're always threatening. Anytime the engage support goes in, you can just trade your CC with the AD carry. Stop them in their tracks. Audie, I think, might have been spotted there. Yeah, he would have been wrapping around in the jungle. So Sheiden can actually make a move here on that bottom scuttle if he so pleases.
Yep, and as we'll see...
Oh, Audie's actually going to go for the steal? Ooh, I don't think he got it. Yeah, Sheiden does get that one. Doesn't have to burn the smite either. And now Audie's out of there.
Yeah, Sheiden was fairly low in this clear, though, and Audie is trying to play off some bot prior. We might have a fight here over the crab and top lane.
Top lane 1v1. Srtty flashes out, almost wins that one, though, through the ignite of Licorice.
So he actually does win this in a sense because the wave is coming into him. Ignite is down, so the kill pressure is lower. But I guess with the flash being down, the ignite will be coming up sooner. The wave's in a good spot for him to reset and teleport back, though.
The damage on the Hena right now is Lyonz will push Isles back. Nice damage trade, and Hena might actually fancy himself a fight here. Flashes forward, first blood to Hena!
Can't have that type of stuff happening if you're Dignitas. It would mean to me that Isles might be making an earlier exit from this lane as he wants to maybe set up some early roaming, but CS had been going well before that disaster of Tomo going down.
Yeah, they'd found windows to kind of reset, which you also saw a little bit in the FlyQuest series, right? From their early laning, where even when it seemed like they were getting pushed in, as I believe, okay, this is going to be, I was wondering if we were going to see how they lost all of that health topside. Yeah. But yeah, first blood onto Hena, which, I mean, Hena has also been, I think, quietly compared to Saint, just because Saint has had so many standout performances. But Hena has been consistently really, really good for this team.
Gonna add a little replay of some fishing up in that top river. Tranquil, if you will.
I feel at peace.
I've never seen that, actually. I
love fishing. Like, actually, in life.
Oh, really?
Fun. Yeah.
What's the biggest fish you ever caught? You know,
I don't remember.
Oh. You're not the type of person that takes a photo with the fish afterwards?
For different reasons. For the tranquility, not for the not for the sustenance.
Not for the photo you get afterwards. Understandable.
But as we did see, to your point, Jatt, when you set up the top lane, right, that did end up being very positive for Srtty, was able to push that in, get some plate damage. So that is another good point that Dig could potentially play around as we see Audie and Lyonz headed down here.
Yeah, I mean, I do find this game a little bit odd in the fact that a lot of the early jungle has been all around the bot side. Now that we're 6 minutes in, it makes more sense that they'd be contesting around the Drake. I just thought by this point they would have tried to dictate that top lane matchup a little bit more, because I think as the mid game approaches, whether or not the Gwen or the Jax wins in side lane is going to dictate who gets first set up on a lot of these plays. But for now, it's just been a 2v2 and a 3v3 bottom lane, which should be in Lyon's favor.
Ooh, Saint actually walks away from Sheiden right there, gets the control ward down. And to your point there as well, Jatt, maybe that changes as the grubs start to come up at 8 minutes, but often we also see, top laners swap down to the bot lane swap up there for that fight, so we might not get a lot of action.
I mean, Dig is just so on their back foot there. Sheiden made a fast play there in the river, couldn't even stick around for the control ward because he didn't know where Sejuani was going to be. So if Sejuani sneaks up on him, he would have died on that control ward, and then he just had to babysit thinking Sejuani was coming anyway, but he isn't getting anything done, and they've completely ceded control of the river.
And he's also a little bit behind in the clear, so theoretically Oddielan will get level 6 first. Saint with a big trade there onto Keine. Wins out just slightly, but with no junglers nearby, no one's going to go for the all-in. Instead, Oddielan's on that top scuttle. See how close he is to level 6 here. Should be getting it shortly. Yeah, I think that scuttle should just give it to him right there. Boom.
Yep, he's heading up to see
Good timing on this game.
Okay, flash forward with the ultimate Licorice, the benefactor of that one.
I mean, I love what Audie did in that entire sequence. He was basically not spotted for such a long time, got full control of bot river, and then instead of spending all of his tempo on Drake, he went to try and deal with the lane that's going to matter the most. As soon as Licorice goes in for that all-in, Audie flash ults and secures that, what I think to be a very crucial kill.
And Sheiden was just trying to power farm and get level 6. He was on the Krug, so nearby, but not close enough to actually impact that. And because Srtty didn't have the flash from the earlier trade, yeah, he goes down. Rough spots for Srtty to be in at this position now.
Yep, and as we see the usual lane assignments, I'd say, coming through, but this should also give LYON control over the grub area if they want to start it. And this is something that when talking about Audie and his experience, like this is where I feel like he does draw on experience, does know how to play around his lanes and with pressure very, very well, especially on something like the Sejuani where she is a playmaker and has multiple options with the Gwen and the Ahri. Yeah,
for sure. And I think it's interesting that this is just going to end up being a trade that LYON essentially chose. I do see this a little bit more with Cloud Drake being the first Drake. It will be more deprioritized than other Drakes, so it doesn't surprise me that we're 9 minutes in before the first Drake goes down.
It will eventually go down because, like you said, trade, but a very delayed trade. Oddielan's going to get back to the bottom quadrant of the jungle and start farming those up, and will still maintain a lead over Sheiden right now. And we had already highlighted the top lane matchup. It's the junglers that have gotten an advantage to Licorice at this point, despite that counter pick. Oddielan's just that guy that can make action happen for the team. He's got the pick for it. He's also got the experience, as you were talking about. This guy's been playing since 2015, I want to say, even before that, in the Latin American leagues. Kind of the GOAT jungler down there.
I remember interviewing him at, I think it was International Wildcard Tournament in 2016?
Yeah,
I think.
Sounds about right. I mean, he made it to 13 domestic finals, won 9 of them, 4 MSI appearances, 4 Worlds appearances. Oddielan is the guy down in the LLA, but now playing here in LTA North, we saw a play happen in the bot side. Heading throughout the ult, Tomo uses the summoner spell. Yeah,
I mean, Tomo has to burn that, and the big thing, again, is that LYON actually decided to swap right back, so they sent their bot lane right back to the bot lane instead of continuing to stick them top. And again, Hena is just getting set up in a really, really good position as we see Lyonz and Audie potentially looking for something in mid.
Saint holding the charm for right now, gets a flash and still lands it! Keine flashing directly into the CC.
I mean, really nicely shot there by Saint. But also, LYON is just getting so many more shots because Dignitas is playing so defensively. Just look at the vision before this play. Keine has no idea where any of these people are, and it's not like his lanes aren't even all pushed in anyway.
Ooh.
Perfect charm there by Saint. Looks like a bit of flashing the straight line, to be completely honest.
But Back's alive. Maybe Licorice in some trouble here. Sheiden does come in to try and help out in the 2v1. Sheiden gets the kill, but Saint teleported in to turn the play. That's one down. Saint can look for more. Flashes over. The seismic shot straight into Srtty. Double kill to Saint.
Just absolutely starting to take over this game. It had looked like LYON had all the pressure, but now a few plays have really went in their favor. Licorice is a little sad that he died, but it's totally okay if he gives a kill and an assist to Saint, who when Saint pops off, this team wins.
Yep, and he'll be able to TP on bot side to cover that wave as LYON starts pushing in on this top side. They do have the Void Might spawn again from getting those grubs earlier, as we're going to see this top lane play. And Sheiden and Srtty are just looking for something onto Licorice, right? Yeah. As Audie is already on his way up, and then Saint starts TPing in.
They know a gank happened mid lane shortly, so they think they have a small window to pull something off, which they absolutely do, but Saint can teleport in afterwards because the kill wasn't clean. Srtty got solo anyway, and it ends up just being a total disaster as LYON redeploys and the play wasn't fast enough.
Ooh, and you can see, tough plays there from Dignitas. We talked how impactful this top lane matchup would be, and Srtty is falling more and more behind. It wasn't Licorice getting a kill there, but he got some assists, and Srtty losing the ability to push that wave in as well.
And I think the question for how Dig is supposed to win this game is where can they play off of? And this is where the Taliyah comes in.
On him. Yeah, still on Srtty in the side lane with the backup of Keine. That's another on the board for Dignitas.
And I'm glad they finally pulled that play off because they've been so much on the back foot. They haven't been able to jungle gank. This is how the mid laner can actually impact that play. Because of the Taliyah ult, you have that extra mobility to the side lanes, and that's how you would try and get the Jax ahead. The question will be, is it too little, too late? Because even after that kill, Srtty's still at a gold deficit.
I believe we also just see Hena constantly shoving in mid-wave, trying to get some plate damage down there. No turrets have gone down yet, but LYON thinking about it as a couple of plates have fallen.
You know, we'll see the map is a bit dark for Saint up here. He's playing pretty cautiously, though. Should just be able to get this wave as they're kind of pinging around the mid lane, going to shove that in again.
Yeah.
And they did get a bunch of turret damage on previously. Like you said, Hena was pushing that up while they did catch Licorice out down on the bot side.
And just to point out, like, with the, whoa, that's too
Whoa!
I will say
I didn't even know you could zoom in that much.
The Varus is having permanent push in the mid lane, and then even the side lane, good push there, as you can see LYON really just dominating the map overall.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it off of Saint here, obviously, on the Ahri, but everybody playing their part here. Hena pushing waves in. Licorice now kind of solidifying a lead in that side lane here with the first item completed. But we also have at least Srtty matching in Keine. So Trinity Force, Srtty's not completely out of this one yet. But considering this is the counter pick. Yeah. He still has both summoner spells, so is able to survive, doesn't have to burn them. But Dragon's up, that is the focus right now for LYON. They're getting their preliminary vision down, denying vision away from Dignitas, as they also want to control priority in the mid lane. Multi-step process here to go for this Dragon.
Yep, and we see Saint headed down here as well, which definitely means that Dig are going to, again, establish prio mid, rotate down to Drake to get that, and also stop any sort of potential early Drake stacking that Dignitas could have had. In the meantime, they will have Srtty pressuring down that top
he might just
tier 1. Yeah,
I mean, Jack's alone in the side lane. He's taking that very fast. I like this call from Dignitas. They already got the early Dragon. They're not giving too many over to LYON, so more gold onto the Jax, getting back in the game.
For how off the back foot they've had to play, getting one Drake and then also being the first team to take down a turret is what keeps them at least a little bit in this game.
Yeah. But it was 3 kills picked up earlier for LYON. Now first turret over to Dignitas. Feats of Warfare still up in the air for either of these teams. It's going to come down to the first 3 objectives, and that's 2 to LYON. That means the Herald's going to be worth even more for them as they're already setting up in the area.
Yeah, they TP'd Saint up there. Audie is already there. They'll be looking for pressure on this turret. Meanwhile, Dig are looking for something mid.
Right.
He has Flash engaged. Flash answer from Hena, so it only lands on the Oddielan, not the target that you want. 2 tank in the Sejuani for Dignitas to full commit.
Yeah, the mid control will likely stay in the side of LYON. That was more just a drive-by gank as they pushed in top lane and now take control of the Rift Herald. Dig looks like they're fed up with this, though. They see Licorice is still on bot wave, so they might be able to at least get the TP out or push them off the Rift Herald.
Oh, engage comes in from Oddielan immediately. Answered by Isles, popping the Alistar ultimate.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this graphic you see on the screen right now. When Saint is ahead, this team is very good. When he's behind, they're not. So that's why.
Well, where are they right now, Jatt?
That's why he's ahead.
Oh,
he's
that's
ahead.
good news.
Absolutely, individually
good news for LYON.
quite far ahead in this game. 2-0-1 on the Ahri so far. 700 gold advantage at 14 minutes. So let's see what type of impact he can have on this game.
Yeah, recently buffed Malignance as well. First item picked up.
And Keine is TPing into a position where they could still set up for a fight with that Taliyah wall.
Isles a little caught off from the rest of the team, and he doesn't have the ultimate available, so instead he goes on Hena. No flash on the AD carry, but a savior play from LYON. Sheiden will take down Hena. Dignitas take down the support. It doesn't matter that LYON's threw his life for his AD carry. That's 2 kills. Dignitas win the play.
Yeah, and you could see that setup coming in from that teleport, right? The Taliyah was getting into position. She'd previously been down on the bot side, and they recognized that not only could they have first rotation onto that Herald, but then be able to set up the fight with the Taliyah wall. Again, Taliyah having the semi-global is so important for creating these kind of uneven situations. Even with Licorice backing, right, and then TPing in, it's already too late.
And it's the snap engage because it is a 4v5. Licorice arrives now. The fight is already over, so just a good trigger pull there by Isles. Everyone on Dig being on the same page to make that engage happen. And for as much as I have felt like LYON is just outplaying Dig and Dig is playing off the back foot, we're in an even game.
Yeah.
Even gold, 1 Drake to 1, the only difference being the 3 grubs.
Yeah, and it feels like even though LYON are playing the map slightly better, one thing I have liked about this Dignitas team, again, is their willingness to go for a lot of these team fights if they feel like they can set them up. We saw it in games where they did end up getting behind. They still looked for windows, were able to really drag them out. It's definitely one of the reasons why, even when they fall behind, they end up having these really long game timers because they end up being able to drag their opponents down in there with them, and it's with team fights like this, right? Like recognizing TP the Taliyah in, she can wall off that entire backside and get kills onto the LYON bot lane.
Will we see Dignitas retake the top 3 longest games of the split? That was something they held.
My goodness.
I mean, we had the fastest series of the split earlier today. It would be
we don't want to end early.
It would be
People
fitting.
bought tickets. They're expecting a show.
We have our fun lounge cast here, you know. Like I was expecting 3 games. I did predict 3 games for this series.
Yeah, I mean, they are both playing for their LTA lives right now in Split 2. The loser of this series, their split ends. They do not make playoffs. Winner will be the 5th or the 6th seed and start playoffs in the lower bracket. And I'm not surprised that we're seeing a competitive game. I mean, Dignitas, going into that FlyQuest series, was in a position where if they had beaten FlyQuest, could have been first in the group.
Yep.
And they ended up being 4th seed because there were so many game score tiebreakers that decided 2nd through 4th. And then LYON, even though they did go on a lose streak in the middle of Split 2, that loss streak was incredibly close games. There was a few games against C9 where if Saints Silasy doesn't land, they actually beat C9 2-0. So both these teams have had their high points, and they are definitely going toe-to-toe here 19 minutes in.
Live by Saint, die by Saint. That seems to be the motto for a LYON as a team right now. But he is still a little bit ahead over Keine, so good news, I think, overall for LYON as a team. But as Srtty's gotten back into the game, that could be cause for concern.
Well, and Dig should have first rotation on this next Drake, right? Which should decide feats, because essentially, yep, they're going to summon the Rift Herald up there and be able to get this Drake. So this actually should give feats to Dignitas, provided that they are able to take down this Chemtech Drake, which it looks like LYON is not even in a position to contest. They will just end up taking that tier 1 on the top side. So a really nice move from Dignitas, again, after they got the Herald, after they won that team fight. You know, Herald mid for Drake setup. It's a classic for a reason.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Play the hits here. But it did also allow Licorice to get the top turret here. They stopped the mid turret from going down. So yes, feats of strength picked up by Dignitas, but LYON making plays elsewhere on the map still have a slight gold advantage right now at the 20-minute mark. But it's not insurmountable. They have done a great job of coming back into this game.
Which has been their strength throughout this split.
They didn't hear no bell, Jatt.
Listen, they've had a lot of practice. They've been behind in a lot of games.
Oh, no.
But they've gotten really good at making sure the games go long. And now they've kind of put it into a state where if it's not the Saint show, it's a loss. Because here, Srtty, you can see again, kind of uncontested on this wave. There's a decent amount of vision lacking, so Licorice isn't really safe contesting until the wave bounces. He's getting more and more items on the Jax, and if there's ever a bit of free time, he's going to be able to take the turret very quickly.
And I would also argue, yes, Ahri's ahead, but this is a tough comp to play Ahri into. You don't have an obvious target. The Zhao can just use ult and avoid a lot of your damage. You're jumping into the Taliyah rocks. Ezreal's playing out of your range usually. It can also dodge you. Alistar has the ultimate. Like, you don't have, other than maybe Srtty if he groups up for fight, like an obvious target to land that charm on every single time, because it's going to come down to either them not paying attention or you finding an outplay.
Yeah, and we see Dig moving around. The big thing to me is that they can still set up Srtty in these side lanes, right? And create map pressure that way. So I'm looking to see. Right now, it seems like both teams are kind of just clustering around mid, as we do still have those top laners in the bot lane.
And we see this happen quite often. Once the turrets go down, side lanes disappear, as Saint misses that charm right there onto Sheiden, looking for a bit of an invade. But now Keine will push in that top wave.
I was gonna say, come on, they're here.
Okay.
They're in the side lane.
I see them
on the bot side.
But yeah, but that's where the turrets are. So until the turrets go down, they'll stay there when there's a turret to hit. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I gotcha.
Just something I've been noticing. Ooh, Tomo actually gets a little window here all alone in the mid lane to just take a free outer turret. That's pretty big.
I mean, listen, LYON is not playing this game out in a very clean way. They've lost map pressure, and what we've seen over the past about 10 minutes is the mid prio started to go away. You can look at the river. It's no longer completely dark. Dig has been able to move some of their wards up. And then Srtty is winning these short trades with Licorice, so he's always the first one to crash the wave. He then moves into river for vision. All these things accumulating together is giving Dig those small windows that Tomo just took advantage of right there to clear the mid turret.
We'll see. If they want to make a play on
do they pincer? Here's Oddielan. Glacial Prison lands. Can they chain the CC? Flash, jump away. Srtty's out of there.
Yeah, I was like, I know Audie's there.
Yeah,
I know he's looking for it.
So as the expert fisherman, how was that fish looking right there, you know? As they were hunting for him. They're fishing
elusive.
For him.
Yeah,
elusive.
He was an elusive
very
fish.
slippery.
Hard to get the ones on land.
Although he is the fisherman, so you should be talking about whether or not...
That's why I was a bit confused.
Yeah.
I was like, he is fishing.
Well, he was the bait, I guess, in this scenario. He
is
kind
the
of falls
fisherman
apart,
Jack's
isn't it?
skin.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're backwards.
He is the one fishing.
We're trying out new material here, Jatt. I'll get it down eventually. It's fine. Now they're making a play into the bot side, as Srtty does have some backup this time around. No ultimate on Oddielan, but he can still just walk up and smack him. So Tomo has to respect that. Jumps away. No turret taken yet.
Yeah, I mean, with no flash for Srtty, he's not allowed to push alone here. And Isles still making a play as Srtty was recalling.
Yeah,
Oddielan ambitious.
Is pretty healthy, though. Still a lot of health. And now Saint on the flank. The Ahri coming in, trying to make the hero play yet again for the team. Isles could be in some trouble. Can't quite link up with the rest of the team, but instead, they catch Saint out of sorts as the rest of LYON leave him to dry.
These fights are crazy because that was a fight where Srtty fully recalled, teleported back in, and Dig still managed to win. They might dive.
Yeah, there's 4 members of LYON here, but we have a wave coming in. We're proxying the next wave. LYON are going to have to try and defend this if Dig want to pull the trigger.
I mean, maybe they'll try and kill the turret first. No, they can't get it.
This would be bold to go for. Yeah, Hena is full health. He's just walking up to take on Tomo. I think that should be play over for Dig as Srtty now jumps back to the rest of the team. Flash from Hena. Keine looks to capitalize, dodges out from the Glacial Prison. No one wants their flash available right now. That's what I'm learning.
I mean, that play ended up going so long as well. Now everyone has to reset and just run back to this Drake as it's spawning in 20 seconds. But watching the beginning of this play again, it looked to me like Dig was disjointed. I was engaging on the left as Srtty recalls on the right. So now LYON says, hey man, numbers advantage, teleport flanked by Saint, but let's see why LYON ends up having to fall away. Hena kind of lets himself get zoned out by a solo Alistar. And that is what allows Saint to get completely annihilated. Beautiful wall by Keine to cut off the rest of the team.
Yeah, I was going to say, Keine was there the entire time. And again, he had that Taliyah wall in his back pocket to isolate Saint from the rest of the team, stick him in a group of Dignitas members. As we see, Oddielan just sitting there.
And now
LYON is going to start it up.
You know, they didn't like how they was looking at him. LYON said, not like that. We're going to start this one as Keine and Srtty are nearby, but Sheiden's on the other side. He's going to have to get here pretty fast.
Yeah, he's pulled off the Drake.
They're burning it down, and LYON, there's going to be no smite contest here. Audi, clean smite, claims the objective. Now maybe Dignitas looking for the fight afterwards. Oddielan taking up a lot of damage to start things off here. Saint getting chunked as well. Now Sheiden's come in. Flash engage from LYON. Lands on the 2. Licorice driving the back line. Hena gets the first kill on the Isles as it's just CC on the Licorice for days. He does go down. Dignitas try and equalize something. Sheiden jumps in for more. He's quite healthy, but he's charmed up. CC. Double kill to Saint.
I'm willing to bet Sheiden didn't expect the Sejuani ult.
Yeah.
That late into a fight, you think you're going to be able to fly in, but they had already lost that fight 2-1. It ends up being 3-1. The original call, nice by LYON, because Sheiden was going to be so late. So they get the smite, they get the stats, and they'll get the passive from the Oddielan. And then the engage is also clean at the start.
Yeah, the big thing for me is that I actually thought it might go a little bit worse for LYON because of that ult on the backside. Then when Sheiden tries to go back in, is immediately chain CC down. I love watching Coach Keenum, by the way. He has the best reactions.
Also, Saint having the stasis there, absorbing the engage from Isles, and he just got poked out immediately. Now back to live. LYON will not only win the fight, they'll get a dragon.
Yep, and that's big because it, again, equalizes the dragon stacking. That objective was what Sheiden actually pulled off of to end up trying to contest that Oddielan after the fact, and now Saint is going to be able to get this tier 1 bot turret down as well. So LYON now have a small 1k gold lead, right? Like, this game has been pretty close.
But the bigger thing
throughout
is
all of it.
2,000 of that is on Saint specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to highlight that one there. Now, Sheiden is keeping, you know, Dignitas in the conversation, of course. He's playing a great game so far, other than jumping straight into the point-blank Sejuani ultimate.
Yeah, the upgraded boots on both of Keine and Sheiden, I think, are fairly important in making sure that the Ahri or the Gwen aren't really able to assassinate at all. So unless Hena is hitting those targets, I feel like it's very difficult for them to get kills. So I still think Sheiden can be a huge menace in teamfights. He throws up his ult after any type of poke hits him, and since he didn't get bursted by the MR poke in the first place, he's just going to have an insane amount of just staying power in these fights.
And that can be huge because they also have the Alistar, right? Who can also soak up a ton of damage. Meantime, the longer some of these fights go out, it is really, really nice for someone like Tomo or Keine to just do constant damage. So we'll see what our next fight setup is going to be looking like.
And Tomo has 3 items completed. I'm happy you're highlighting the AD carry there, because Ezreal with 3 items can just do insane damage if left on alone, or left alone rather, in a team fight, just a free fire. So playing around Ezreal can be a win condition for Dignitas. Right now it was Keine that was in the side lane in a little danger, but Oddielan does not find the angle.
Yeah, and Dig is just going to try and win the side lane game once again. Strangely enough, the 0-3 Jax is still managing to make some moves in the side lanes here. Keine does have to play on the back foot because currently he's matched up against the Ahri, who's able to move first, but he can always match with his Taliyah ult. So let's see if Audie goes for a play on Sheiden here.
Glacial Prism does land again. He's got a lot of magic resist. Now he pops the ultimate, flashes away, still knocked up, but does not go down. Sheiden still pretty healthy as Srtty jumps in, has to flash away. The rest of the team was not quite there to follow up.
I still like the look by LYON, but you can see how hard it actually is to burst down Sheiden. Getting the flash out of both Xin and Jax is going to be huge for LYON when the next objective approaches. But with that play, Dig is already kind of on the counterattack, pushing them back and getting some mid-prile.
Yeah, I mean, could this be a Baron angle? We just saw Hena get heavily chunked out, use both summoner spells. You're going to have to reset, run straight back up, but Dignitas don't want to pull the trigger. Yeah,
probably not. The Baron damage is pretty low for them. Both teams have not the best Baron. I'd say now that Hena has Terminus with the Gwen, LYON's Baron would be a little bit faster, but it's a difficult pull for Dig to go there since their objective damage isn't that high.
Yeah, I think to just go back, they do have a bunch of forward vision right here, right, to be set up, as Audie is going to end up clearing some of that out now, and we're going to see Gwen try to catch this top wave. Meanwhile, Srtty is on the bot side of the map, pushing bot in, and Saint will be able to catch that on the bot side. So we're kind of just dancing around, getting
it's a
some
classic
waves.
tango. Classic. You send Saint down bot side because you're the one with teleport, so you can answer if a Baron fight breaks out here. But that does mean that Srtty, I mean, I don't know if this is better or worse for him, because it's harder to get on top of the Ahri, so you're probably never going to be able to hit that turret as long as the Ahri's the one answering the Jax.
Yeah, probably not, but you can still see Dig first to River, just looking for some type of pick, and they're going for Licorice, who has no flash.
Yeah, they tried with the Weaver's Wall, but Licorice gets to the other side in time. Now throws out the Needleworks, is chunking out Isles here. And Isles should be able to walk away just fine, but everyone's grouped up around the top side of the Rift now.
That is pretty big to have the Taliyah wall down. Doesn't look like LYON are going to be looking towards that Baron, but that should give them a window of opportunity to end up pushing down this tier 1 mid finally, and then potentially rotate down to get set up for Drake, which will be up in about 35 seconds now.
And if I could get a little predictive, I feel like what they were trying to do was get teleport out of Saint there. Make a play on the top side so that the Ahri's no longer able to answer Srtty down there. There was a short window to do it. They didn't find it, but now Dignitas need to contest at that dragon because this would be sole point for Lion.
Yeah, everybody reset, got as many items as they could, running back to this Drake. Now it's about who can defend these zones the best. Right now, Dig set up first on the mid wave, which then will give them a turn to move into River, where they already have control wards. So as soon as Keine zooms back to lane here, I'd almost want to see him teleport if they really wanted to be able to defend right away, but he's just going to ride the wall and get there as quickly as possible. But since you can see now Lion moving towards Baron with their control wards, that Dig is going to have to follow them through a zone where they don't have control.
Completely dark top river here. Dignitas do not have vision. Lion can either start it up or look to pounce, but instead Dignitas, they're just going to get control over the mid wave. Isles is going to walk forward.
Check.
How much will he get chunked out? Uses the ultimate very early. That's already a big win for Lion now. That is a lot of the front line down for Dig.
Yeah, I like what Lion's doing here, though. They got the Alistar ult down. They know that Jax is on the bottom wave, so they can force them to check here right now. And it's a game of chicken since they are on the Baron. Dig ends up winning by checking, face checking, and not getting engaged on.
And meanwhile, Lyonz has been looking for a flank this entire time.
So more of a game of chicken. Jax is doing the Drake now.
Watch for the Neeko. Not action. Ahri, Oddielan goes in. Tomo jumps over the wall. That means that Lion into the waiting arms. But Kaine's there to back up. Lyonz goes to the Stasis. There's another flank from Saint as Ahri picks up one and another one over to Licorice. Well played to Lion and their mid laner.
Yeah, and Lyonz, as we see if they're going to be able to clean up Srtty on the backside of this. Srtty might end up taking Lion out. Yeah.
All right.
Just as I was about to praise him, I do think that setup from Lyonz was really good, right? Because you saw him trying to look for an angle on mid. They didn't get it. They played the Baron dance. He was waiting the entire time to be able to get that Pop Blossom off, lands it onto Tomo, and ends up taking Tomo out.
And everyone's working with imperfect information here. So Dig is checking to see where this fight is happening while the Jax is on the Drake, which to me is a split call. If you're going to have your Jax on the Drake, you can't check that like that deep, because as soon as you're going to check that deep, you have to be ready to have a fight. So the engage happens from Lion. Most of it was because they were able to get Tomo down, and there was a deep ward for the Ahri to teleport in on, and that might break the game open.
Absolutely could. Because now, not only do Lion get that Baron, but they can also get back onto the map and still go for that dragon.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is whenever Lion have been able to leverage these objectives on the top side of the map, the Oddielan, the Baron, they've ended up pulling someone off of that Drake so Dig can contest, right? So this has been a really good cleanup for them as well. They've been able to get those two Drakes off the back of also getting those large objectives in Oddielan and then Baron, and this should give them really good setup to start pushing in towards Dignitas' base.
And now a 4,000 gold lead as well. Everything working out for Lion here. How many turrets can they take with this Red Bull Baron power play is the question on my mind. That's one to go down.
At least
they can
one.
look for the mid turret. It's fun to ask a question as the answer is like immediately in front of you.
I know it's at least one.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe two.
Yeah, as we see Saint setting up.
Dig might fight here because
Charm down.
The times that you look for fights when you're the team defending the siege is when the other team is clearly doing multiple things at once, because then you can maybe find a numbers advantage. So in that case, Licorice was pushing bot wave hard while the rest of Lion was pressing mid wave hard, and Isles had his flash up, so I thought maybe they'd go for an engage, but they didn't feel confident in the 4v4. It feels like with the way Dignitas cleared out their jungle camps while losing an outer turret, like they're just kind of trying to wait this Baron buff out and get as much gold as they can themselves.
Yeah, the best time to engage is when you feel confident to do so, and I feel like Dignitas' confidence has been rocked a little bit in the tail end of this game as the Charm lands onto Isles. This is the third turret being sieged down by Lion.
Yep, and as we see, Licorice is going to end up trying to push in this mid wave.
I think Kaine's prepping a Weaver's Wall right now. He's playing off vision into jungle.
Lion knows, though. You can see at this point, this is what I like. Licorice is on the wave. He sees the Taliyah. So now that he's pushed, he's hovering into jungle, and that's when the rest of Lion approaches this. So this is how they avoid getting engaged on and probably get this turret.
Ooh, Glacial Prism thrown onto Srtty. And the Charm does not land. So Lion, they thought about maybe going for a dive. Now the engage from Dignitas, pouncing onto Saint. Lion's doing what he can to try and keep it up, but what a flick from Keine. They're pulling back two members. Dignitas are finding their play, capitalizing on an overextended Lion.
And that, to me, honor goes to Isles. He just absolutely found that snap engage onto the Ahri, didn't get charmed, didn't get juked on it, and this is going to be a nearly full wipe.
Desynced Death Timers as they will catch Hena. He won't even use the summoner spells. That's a shutdown to Sheiden.
Woof, and that is not like, because previously when we've seen LYON kind of potentially give away these leads, it's been like, oh, okay, they overextend. This is just really good recognizing when they're able to go in. That flick was really nice as well, killing off Licorice on the backside of this, and then, yeah, they're just able to clean that up. Now pushing down on that tier 2 mid turret, almost gets it.
Yeah, that's always the question, is what do you get after the fight? As we see in the picture-in-picture, they get the tier 2 top turret. They did not get the mid turret, but they got themselves that confidence back, baby. They're into the game yet again. As, I mean, LYON, they thought maybe we could find our own engage under turret, but once you don't have the charm, once you don't have the Glacial Prison, much easier for Dig to make their play.
I need to correct myself there. It was actually Sheiden who did the old classic hit 2 of the 3 Talon strikes, then E onto the Ahri and get the 3rd.
Ooh.
And to me, Saint was in front of his entire team. So that was a miscommunication by LYON and a really good punish by Sheiden and the rest of Dig.
Saint leading from the front, sometimes not advised.
Look at how much
Ahri.
MR Sheiden is building. He has 150 MR, only 110 armor. So I think as long as he's avoiding getting hit by Hena, he will be kind of unkillable. But I'll also say this is the stage in the game where the Varus gets really scary, because you get as much damage as you need with those 3 attack speed items on the Varus, and then you get to build tank afterwards. So he can really start playing up more in these fights now.
Yep. A lot of resistances will be stacking up here on Hena. The more autos he gets off each fight, Terminus completed. Jack show as well. So can we actually kill Hena? Because he saved those summoner spells wisely before. That was a lost play from LYON. Dignitas get a lot of gold back in their pocket and even it up, but this is still LYON on Soul point. So if they pick up this dragon, that is Soul for them, and that's in 45 seconds time.
Yeah, it's LYON on Soul point, but Dig do have, again, this Jax they can send into side waves to end up pushing. Probably will get the setup onto this next Drake.
Look at Srtty's itemization, too. That's a completed Zhonya's, and he's got the Elixir of Iron. So he knows that this next fight, probably the most important one, just gonna pop that Elixir, go in.
And we're in the same situation as last time. Baron and Drake up at the same time. Last time, Dig didn't defend the Baron well enough, had to face check, and then ended up dying. Now, they're setting up early with Baron vision so that if they move to Drake, it's not completely open.
Sheiden now finds Licorice from the side here, and again, all that magic resists. Licorice just not doing a lot of damage. Isles buying space for him as Keine weavers walls the rest of the team away. Licorice all alone for right now. Srtty threatening the engage, but Licorice kites back far enough. Dignitas do not find their man.
So they get the Gwen, Sejuani, and Xin. I mean, almost every ultimate's burned. Isles burned his ultimate as well, so there's not that much left for Dig.
But look, Lyonz and Hena both have theirs, so the engage tools as well as the kind of kite back counter engage tools still available for LYON. It's a tough fight to take for Dignitas. You got to keep track of the support.
Yeah, Licorice trying to retake this zone. If they manage to move in and take this Drake, it is Soul. We're going to see a fight.
Licorice goes into the stasis. Isles jumps in, trying to tank up as the Alistar, but he just does not have enough health. Saint on the flank yet again onto Keine, but he gets out of their line. Flashing forward, Pop lost him out of 2, but now he's turned back on Srtty to the stasis. Keine with another flick. Srtty flashing forward. You just can't stop this guy. Srtty with the pop-off play of the split. Double kill to Sheiden. Dig win the fight.
What a turnaround there by Dignitas. Isles gets one shot, but then Keine has the massive flip, and Srtty probably spent 10 seconds at 10 health before actually dying at the end of that fight. They're going to try and push for a bunch here. They're foregoing the Drake to get gold from the turrets.
Yeah, they should
or
be
the end?
I mean, they might just go for it. Let's see if Dignitas won it.
Kaine's no TP and no health.
30-second death timers on anybody that matters. It's only going to be a flashless, healless, ultless Neeko. Dignitas think they have a victory in their sights. They're going to go for the upset.
This is close.
Expectations said Lyonz take this one easy, but expectations be damned. Dignitas strike first in game number 1.
What a finish there by Dignitas.